Oh, unmuted. Control D. There we go. Hey,
There
he
go.
is.
Hey.
Obviously, I'm Andy Garfield, and that's not Patrick Kling. Patrick is on vacation with his family, and happy to have you here, Trevor.
Glad to be on board. Thanks for asking me to come back again.
Of course, I was always happy to see you. So,
right on.
And today we've got a great show with Kyle Smith from SeaWorld Orlando's Howl-O-Scream.
Oh yeah. Which we're going to bypass the news. I'm not going to talk about that. Just getting right into the show. So let's bring on Kyle and let's just dive into it. Have a good conversation.
There he is. Welcome, Kyle.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. I'm honored, actually, that you guys wanted to bring me on the show. So thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thanks. You're welcome. We're happy to have you here.
Yeah. So we just want to get right. Well, actually, you know what? Before we get right into it, we want to hear about your title, about your role with SeaWorld, and about, I guess, top level view to start of getting into Howl-O-Scream.
Of course. Yeah. So like you guys mentioned, my name is Kyle Smith, and I'm the manager of creative show operations here at SeaWorld Orlando. And specifically, what we're going to speak about today is I'm the production manager of the Howl-O-Scream event that we are in our second year of this year. It's continued to get bigger and better. So we'll dive into that a little bit later. But my background is I came into the entertainment industry growing up as a professional figure skater, and I got to tour the world with Feld Entertainment's Disney on Ice, and I had that performer background. And from there, I knew I wanted to move on over into the creative side of things, into the leadership and the management side of themed entertainment. So I went to school. I'm here in Central Florida at the University of Central Florida. And shortly thereafter, I did start here at SeaWorld. And so I've been fortunate enough to been able to stage manage throughout my time here at SeaWorld. And then about a year ago, I was able to get this role of my current role of the production manager of Howl-O-Scream Orlando. So I'm super excited to be here and to dive in a little bit deeper, but that's a little bit about me.
Well, we're excited to have you, and that's great. It's a great story. I have to admit, I have been to the Disney on Ice shows by myself as an adult without children. So,
absolutely.
My old buddy Joel Fuso used to do all the arrangements for that and stuff. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you about your experience with Howl-O-Scream and the event and learn more about it. I mean, it combines haunted houses, scare zones, food and beverage, and shows across a variety of storylines. So let's do the overview of the event in Orlando. If we can roll that clip while you tell us the ethos, the concept of Howl-O-Scream Orlando.
Yeah, of course.
Wow,
well,
that's awesome.
I feel like I couldn't talk over that cool video, so
no, I didn't know.
Let the video play.
I appreciate that. Because and then there's the maze with the. It looks like there's a lot of really cool, like nautical, spooky themed kind of concepts and stories and characters. Let's hear more about that and the your influences and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So like I mentioned earlier, Howl-O-Scream, if you're familiar with the event overall, SeaWorld Parks and Entertainment has had Howl-O-Scream around for a while. Specifically here in SeaWorld Orlando, last year in 2021 was our first year of the event, our inaugural Fear, as we like to call it. And now this year we are doing our second year, and we're continuing just to scratch the surface. So that's sort of our tagline this year, as the event gets bigger and bigger every year. Speaking as an event overall, the goal, what I love about Howl-O-Scream specifically here, is that everything makes sense. It's all cohesive. It's an entire event from the time you basically come through the front gate to the time you leave. The storyline is built in. Everything weaves together, and that's super important to the entire team here at SeaWorld Orlando, not including just entertainment, but our operations division, our culinary and food and beverage, and our merchandise. It all blends together that when you come to the event, it all makes sense and it all has purpose. And that's actually one of my favorite things to talk about, is that just that cohesiveness and how we're adding different elements into every line of business. But Howl-O-Scream specifically, it does include, we have 5 haunted houses this year. We have 7 scare zones, and we have 5 interactive bars. And then we have 3 live shows. And then we actually have a 4th hidden show that we'll talk about a little bit later as well. So
I love hidden
it's a huge event. This year we've taken over 360 degrees basically around our Bayside Lake. As you can see in that map right there, is that if you came to our event last year, on the left side of that map right there, that entire section was not included in our footprint. So this year we've been able to expand all the way. So when you come into the event, you can either go around the bridge or keep going around to some of our attractions like Infinity Falls and Mako, our popular roller coaster. So with it being only our 2nd year and expanding so much, it was a huge task to take on for the entire team here. But it was super fun to be able to expand and be able to dive even deeper into this storyline that really started last year. So specifically us being SeaWorld, when Howl-O-Scream was first brought up to us, of that we were going to be able to create this new nighttime event, a separate ticket event, specifically here in the Orlando market. That's no easy task by any means, compared to, we have our sister park, Busch Gardens Tampa, down the road here in Florida. And then obviously right down the street, we have Universal Orlando's Halloween Horror Nights. And so being able to create something in this environment was very challenging. And it took, a lot of us on the entertainment team. And, I like to mention interdepartments so much here, because we are so much smaller here at SeaWorld Orlando. We don't have the staff capacity that other parks do. But what's super exciting about that is that it does require us to be more hands-on with each other and be able to, in the design process and the creative process and also the operational process, we have to be on the same page to be able to achieve an event this large. But that's a little overview of the entire event. But like you said, if you live in the Orlando area and you haven't been to Howl-O-Scream, I can't tell you how much that the guest feedback and our local fan base and our local annual pass holders, they love the event. So the response has been, extraordinary, of how much of, how different it is. We don't try to compare ourselves to those other parks. It is something unique that we have created here, and we're very, very, very proud of that. So it's fun to talk about. I'm super thankful to be in this role right now and to be able to expand on Howl-O-Scream Orlando. And it's so different for me from things I've done in my earlier career. Like I mentioned earlier, I was a professional figure skater, so I was on the performer side of things. And even with that, it's more smiley and happy and making, those magical moments and things like that. And while we still want to create those memorable experiences, my favorite word to use in regards to Howl-O-Scream that I've really had to take in to the next level is the unexpected. People say, what's my favorite word when I talk about Howl-O-Scream, or what's one design element or things like that? It's always, how can we create the unexpected? And, we were able to do that last year. And then even this year being in our 2nd year, we had to bring the bar up again and create that unexpected for our guests, that a lot of people, even, local to Central Florida, they come to the event and they're like, I never expected to have the experience that I had at SeaWorld's Howl-O-Scream. So it's great. It's awesome.
Well, speaking of that,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask a question getting into that, because, well, first off, anybody watching, if I say anything incorrect, feel free to correct me, because I'm kind of a wuss. I have never gone to any haunts, mazes, any sort of these events at theme parks, because my nerves are not that steeled. So that's my preface. But so you mentioned about being, an Orlando resident, or anybody who's even visiting, and this experience being on par with those other experiences that you get from the other guys, like the Disney and Universal. But obviously those are tailored to certain demographics. Obviously Disney being more families, Universal is, they have their IPs that they will bring in and design based on that. So from page 1 for SeaWorld, for you guys, even talking about last year, your first year, and this year, what are your parameters? Like, who's your target audience, and what are you setting out with, like, as those goals, those buzzwords that you want to make sure that the experiences kind of check the boxes for people?
For sure. So our event is a separate ticket event, much like Halloween Horror Nights, and also in our sister park, like I mentioned down the street. It is a separate ticket event, and it's geared towards adult audiences 18 years or older. That is the recommended age. That doesn't mean that someone that's much younger. I love seeing younger guests come into the park that are just so in love with haunted attractions, and they're in it to win it. Even, we've seen a lot of different families come and their kids really wanted to come to the event. We offer something called a no boo necklace for those individuals that might be a little on the scaredy cat side. So there's something for you as well. Just come on and check it out. But our target audience is for that mature audience, 18 years and older, and gearing towards that, it is, we like to bring in a lot of different things so that there's something for everyone. It could be, having some haunted houses and mazes and scare zones that are more triggering on the senses, whether it might be snakes or spiders or anything that might have the creepiness that gets you the creepy crawlies, I guess I would say. And there's other things that we would throw in there, whether it might be, blood oriented or weapon oriented, swords, or your abandoned sunken pirate ship, things like that we like to throw in there. So there's really something for everybody. And with that being said, if you're not into the haunted mazes necessarily, or that's not your thing, with the scare zones as well, we incorporated so many different design elements that all link back to the water as well. So like I mentioned, it's all centered around the lake, our entire event. And it's the unexpected. I'm going to keep throwing that word in there, but it's throwing things in there that you would not expect in the scare zones or expect to see at SeaWorld. And then with that, we do put a lot of entertainment value into our live shows. And in our live shows, if you might not be into going through the haunted mazes, the shows, there's something there for you. And then with our culinary element and these interactive bars, if you're someone that just appreciates live entertainment and having some great crafted cocktails or drinks, there's a spot for you as well here at the event.
Well, can you tell me all about is there an overarching story to the event?
Yeah.
Is there let's get into that. I'm curious about that.
Yeah. So last year, like I mentioned, when the event was started, we had our icon last year. Her name was Darkness. And she sort of originated as this first SeaWorld siren. Our entire event is based on these sirens that we've created here at SeaWorld Orlando, and the team has done an amazing job at sort of expanding on their story this year. This year's icon is Scratch. She is the blood siren. And so I mentioned, all of them are sirens, and they're spread out throughout our event. So some of them have their own haunted house named after them, or that they're incorporated in some of our live shows. Specifically, it's called Siren Song, features all 5 of our SeaWorld sirens that are based around for our Howl-O-Scream event. And so with that being said, it's all centered around sirens. It's all centered around where they came from, the water, where they are now, and how they're taking revenge on the guests. And one of the hidden things that honestly was super grateful that people picked up on it, and it really wasn't planned in a fully planned out way, to be honest here, but it even relates of the sirens, Darkness specifically last year, is taking revenge on the guests in our world of how we've treated the earth and how we've polluted it and tore it up, and we're just not taking care of each other and the environment and the world we live in. And ultimately that relates right back to our mission statement here at SeaWorld. And that's awesome to talk about. So it's perfect. And that's how it sort of relates all back into what we do and our purpose here at SeaWorld Parks and Entertainment.
And then please tell me there's a sexy siren show then too, as well.
That is Siren Song. That is true. You could refer to it as that as well. And specifically with our icon this year, Scratch, who I'm sure you've seen that she was in some of the videos we've already talked about. She's our icon this year, and she's our youngest siren in the siren clan there. And she's wild, she's frisky, and she's out for revenge this year. So it's pretty fun.
Well then, so going from last year to this year, then Blood Beckoning is the newest house that's that you guys have created. And is that one that's featuring this newest siren?
Yes, it is. So yeah, Blood Beckoning does feature Scratch, our icon siren this year. And generally, the Blood Beckoning there's no turning back now. You've ended up in this decrepit, abandoned city block, where it's filled with some of her minions of vampires that are all seeking out some more, basically, blood banks. So you as the guest, when you're coming into this abandoned city, they are searching for you and going to take you right to their queen, which is Scratch, and sacrifice you, or sacrifice your blood, that is, to continue to make her more beautiful. And throughout the decrepit, abandoned city block, you end up into a subway station. You go down into the bottom of the subway station where Scratch.
Oh, did we lose him?
Hopefully that's just a temporary pause in Kyle's story about Scratch.
But it's to have him back. So I did actually. This is something I was going to bring up anyways. But there's a YouTuber I follow that he actually went to this event yesterday, and I watched his video today. So he just did a half an hour kind of highlight reel of him attending this event. And it was funny because it wasn't until Kyle started talking about the blood bank thing with this new character of Scratch that I realized that, that's why there was like these two women at the event who they were literally wheeling around an IV stand with a bucket hanging on it filled with syringes of rum and tequila shots. And I think they were dressed up like nurses, but like in black. And and they're just literally like, it's just like cocktails to go, just syringe shots of that, just as you go through this area.
Sure. Sounds great.
I mean, it's fantastic. That's great.
Well, it looks like we've fully lost Kyle. Hopefully he'll dial back in quickly, and the SeaWorld internet will hold out. Welcome back to the show, Kyle.
How are you guys? It looks like I lost internet connection.
That's okay. It must be the weather. We can always blame the weather in Florida.
That is true. It is storming outside here in Orlando today. So
there you go.
So where did I leave off? Where did I get crossed off the show?
We were talking about Trevor was regaling us about all this syringe shots.
Yeah. So there was a quick recap. There was a YouTuber I followed that he just went to the event yesterday. And I saw one of the shots he had in his highlight reel was about the two, I think they're dressed like nurses, wheeling around the IV stand with the Jello shots and the syringes as you go through that Scratch area, the blood beckoning area.
Yes. We do have shot servers throughout the event that sell Jello shot syringes. It comes with, you can take your own syringe shot home if you want to create some more Jello shots. And then we also have Scratch's blood bag. And those were two creations from our culinary team. Tying it in, that's another element of themed entertainment to be able to bring into the event. And they're both very tasty. They're a great deal to get. And so people have loved to be able to not only have that Jello shot or that alcohol blood bag, but it's a great like souvenir to take home as well.
That's always fun.
Who doesn't want to put you off plastic syringe at home to create more Jello shots?
Well, when you were, I think we lost you just in the kind of the beginning of the saying Scratch getting blood from guests, getting revenge, look more beautiful, and I think that's where we lost you.
Okay, all right, cool. So I was just sort of describing a little bit more details of the house and where you start in the house and where you end up. So when you're coming into Blood Beckoning, it does start in an abandoned bookstore. Through that abandoned bookstore, you go into an abandoned ramen shop. And then from the ramen shop, we were able to incorporate, we built specifically this brand new house in an old restaurant that was here specifically in the middle of our park here at SeaWorld Orlando. And with that abandoned restaurant, we were able to incorporate, which is one of the coolest element, is an actual walk-in freezer. So from the abandoned ramen shop, you walk into the freezer, which I'm not going to lie to you, was actually terrifying when we're in the design process, because all of us were like, okay, well, you hold the door open so that doesn't get stuck in here. um, because that could be my newest nightmare that I've learned this year, is getting stuck in a freezer. But we expanded on that theory. The freezer is actually working during the haunted house when it's open, and you walk into the freezer. Once you're going through the freezer, you come out the back of it, down into under the urban bridge. So you're underneath the subway railroad tracks are above your head. From there, you're going out into what we call a homeless tent city, where there's feral vampires throughout the homeless tent city that's taking their revenge. They're trying to get you. You're almost into the subway there, and then you go into the subway, and like you said, you make your way down into the bottom of the subway, and you have the first encounter with Scratch herself in her temple. It's a beautifully designed room. Specifically, it's very unique for a haunted attraction because it is so large. It is a very large room. It's about almost 35 feet across. It's a circular room. So you enter in the back. Scratch is specifically above all of the guests, sort of in her crow's nest per se, and she's taunting the guests, and pointing out her victims. And when you're going through the house, one of the coolest, design elements and creative writing that the writer was able to put in there was some of the scare actors are actually in line with the guests, and there's the secret I'll give away. And Scratch identifies those guests coming through the house, and immediately we call them Slap and Tickle, actually, in the house, and they're her two minions that are in this temple. And she takes those guests down and sacrifices them to give her more blood. So that it is it's absolutely my favorite room in the haunted house, because we were able to design based on the architecture that was already in the park. And it was an outside eating area specifically. And it had this beautiful concrete platform that was built around almost like a tent structure to begin with. It was actually a roller coaster netting for our Manta attraction. So if there's any loose articles or things like that, so the netting was above here for the dining room tables to be underneath. It was an outside eating area. So we took that concept and said, okay, how can we use this totally unique space that we have here and create a room? And it was perfect that we could be able to make this siren temple. And with that, our 360 degrees almost in this room are full of dead bodies on the wall with IV lines coming out of them and circling up the tent line, almost like that circus tent, up to Scratch as well. So you're walking underneath the blood lines or the IV lines. And then you have, like I mentioned, some of the guests are being taken down and sacrificed to her. So it's almost like I like to describe it as a show scene, a mini show scene, or almost a pre-show before an attraction. Sometimes you'll go through the house when I'm going through as a guest, or just going to see how it's working and see how our guests are reacting to it. Sometimes the guests it's so wide that they'll be able to stand on the side and sort of see the show elements take place. And that's a unique process for sure. That in most haunted houses, it's not that way. What's also unique about not only Blood Beckoning this year, but a lot of our houses and what our fan base do enjoy is that we pulse our houses. So it's not a conga line through. It's, how many is in your party? Okay, 6, great. You guys are going in as a party, and being able to have your own, not see necessarily what's coming ahead of you. It does make for a heightened experience for sure. And, the unexpected or catching you off guard. So that's really Blood Beckoning. There's a few more surprises that I won't leave in the back half of the house, but like I mentioned, it is a beautifully done house. We are super proud of that house right now. It is getting very great, amazing ratings, to be honest. And it's definitely a fan favorite. Every night it does have the longest wait so far. And it's really great. I can't talk enough about it.
Well, can you reveal now where the fourth secret show is?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll talk about that. So, once again, we talked about expanding the event so many different ways, and we expanded in haunted houses. We talked about expanding interactive bars. We talked about expanding scare zones, and then we got to the show element. We're like, how are we going to continue to add it? So this year we did add Lurking in the Depths, an adventurer's tale. It does take place right in our old Pearl Dive area. It's an old Oyster Secret. It's a store there inside our park that you're able to purchase Pearl from. And it's an outside amphitheater and able to create a live comedic show that takes place in there. So we were able to add that show. And then we got a few weeks before opening, to be honest. And some individuals, like I mentioned earlier about the collaboration between different departments. They had a fantastic idea, and we were talking about different sirens and how they were mixed into the event and adding a little bit more entertainment. And we came up with this great idea called the Lost Souls Hideaway, and that's really the unexpected new show that we're featuring this year. It is its own individual speakeasy club that takes place on our Sky Tower Island. So Sky Tower Island here in Orlando is our observation tower that goes up. It's in the center of our park. It looks out over our Bayside Lake, and with that being said, it's a beautiful spot that honestly is underutilized a lot of times. We use it sometimes for special events, and our education team, it's a great centralized location for our guests to meet for their tours and things like that. So we came upon this, and we're like, what can we create out here? And we came up with this sort of speakeasy vibe where it's an abandoned cocktail club at the bottom of the ocean floor, where it has a limit of daily guests. So we only allow up to about 50 to 70 guests in for every show that we perform there. And we wanted to create an upscale experience that was different from the other unique bars where you might not have to wait in line for that favorite cocktail. We wanted to create a specialty cocktail out there and a different food and beverage element as well. And so with that, we created Lost Souls Hideaway. And the added entertainment there is it is a drag cabaret featuring Serpentina Murray, which is a first for a theme park here in Central Florida. And we are super excited to be able to offer it. So it is a great addition to Howl-O-Scream. And honestly, the guests have been just so thrilled with it. It is pretty much sold out all the time. So if you're still coming to the event, I would definitely encourage you to go ahead online and buy your ticket. It is one of my favorite things. It is one of my favorite things about the event this year. Like I said, we created this beautiful drag queen called Serpentina Murray, and she does her drag cabaret. It's a comedy show, and that's basically what it's based on. Is just having a good old time down at the bottom of the supper club at the cocktail club.
And that's a separate ticket within the park?
It is. It actually
Okay.
is. So if you want to purchase that ticket and book your reservation spot, SeaWorldOrlando.com. It's Lost Souls Hideaway.
That sounds really cool. Like, wow, I hadn't even considered that that's the first drag show in a theme park in Central Florida. How is that possible?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, sitting here today, it's awesome. It's super cool. We're very proud of it.
Yeah, it should be. That sounds great. I'm going to look that up after the show. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like more my speed versus like the mazes and the haunts, to be honest.
Exactly.
Yeah, Trevor, it sounds like you could just like drink around the SeaWorld.
And you totally can. Some people, that's what you're into, and that's great. We have great cocktails. Every single one of our bars does have a signature cocktail based on our sirens as well, and you can really honestly bar hop around our lake here and just enjoy the live shows. And like I mentioned, the live shows are over the top. If you're familiar with some of our sister parks too, we do have a show called Monster Stomp, and Monster Stomp is inside our Nautilus Theater. It is a fantastic show. It is a live singing, dancing, percussionist, guitarist show it's top notch. It's one of the best theme park shows I will say ever in a theme park, and also in a haunted theme park attraction. So we are very, very also proud of that show.
I'm going to start a new hashtag bring back Blue Horizons.
Also,
that Monster Stomp show that I saw a bit of it this morning, and it's the part that I got to see was the four guys. It's basically a Blue Man Group drumming on a coffin, and it was impressive. It was
they
really
are
well done.
so wicked talented. The entire cast this year is just phenomenal every single night. You can just tell the passion and the love they have out there, and they're super proud of the show, and we're super proud of them as well too. Last year, we were still really in this COVID environment as well. So with that being said, while the show was fantastic last year, for safety reasons, and especially here are different regulations that were still going on, everyone was still wearing a mask indoors at the time of last year's show, and this year. We're fortunate enough to not be in those regulations and things like that, and being able to go forward. And that, it just is to be able to see their faces and to be able to see the passion and what they bring to the stage every day. It is fantastic. The talent is amazing. It's absolutely top notch. One of the best theme park shows out there.
Well, going back to the themed bar experiences, what are it sounds like obviously the main parts of the whole event is being in the houses, in the mazes, out in the scare zones. But then you have storytelling abilities in the theme bars as well. In addition to having a signature cocktail. So what's the experience like of developing, a part of a story that's part of that larger cohesive narrative for the entire event?
Yeah. So with some of our bars, we incorporate them not only to the entire event, but also specifically to the houses. I'll speak of one. We call it Glacier Bar Tormented. Tormented is our Glacier Bar wild Arctic area of the park, featuring our new roller coaster Icebreaker as well. So that's our normal Arctic region of the park that's centered around that. And with the Glacier Bar, we tied it in specifically with Beneath the Ice. Beneath the Ice is one of our returning haunted houses last year for our event. And it was, a fan favorite. It was rated #1 actually in the entire company last year for Beneath the Ice. And we knew we had to bring it back in its entirety. And this year and also last year, we were able to say, what can we do to create another added entertainment element to this interactive bar? And what we're able to do is place triggers throughout that house and live camera feeds that are able to capture how the guests are getting scared inside the house to a live, almost video game experience outside of the house, inside Glacier Bar Tormented. So guests are able to come into that bar, not only get their favorite cocktail, but able to go over to the scare button, wait to see their party go through, or wait to see a random guest to go into the line, and be able to hit the trigger or hit the scare bar button. And inside the house, they'll be able to see a special effect go off that most likely will always terrify or scare that guest. And you're able to see the live reaction of that guest as they're going through the haunted attraction. And let me tell you, it's super fun. Sometimes I will just go over there to the scare bar button and see how you can just scare the poop out of someone.
I figure you have that button in your office.
You know what? That's a great idea. I'm going to have that happen. I could just sit here from the office and get it. It's like playing your own video game. Who doesn't love that? So, and that's just one of the ideas that we threw into having, an added entertainment or that interactive experience with our bars. That's one of the great ones. We do have another bar called Poison Grotto. Poison Grotto is connected to our Infinity Falls, our Waterway Grill, and then most importantly too, it's at the exit of our Dead Vines Root of All Evil house. And it's centered when you go inside Waterway Grill, and you're in line to get your cocktail at this bar, it does feature aerialist above you as you're getting your cocktail. So once you get your cocktail, you can sit back in any of the chairs and watch just the aerialist and their feats that they're doing above you inside a theme park in a bar. And to me, honestly, it doesn't get cooler than that.
Sounds
I know
awesome.
Trevor and I are big fans of cocktails and bars and themed bars, and if we're working on a themed bar show for Untitled, and it's awesome. I mean, it's I'm a little jealous of Trevor, who's heading out to Orlando tomorrow. So
there you go.
I gotta go see this. I gotta go see this in person.
Yeah.
This like these not the mazes or anything like that, but the bars. The bars in the
Yeah.
show sound at 100% my speed.
yeah, we need a full report. We might have a follow-up episode.
There you go.
So
Trevor,
Kyle,
let's go.
as we all know, SeaWorld is a functioning theme park during the day, animal park, coaster park, that's not supposed to be scary necessarily. You're not supposed to have, Scratch running around scaring the dolphins and whatnot. But so how do you flip it so quickly from normal operating daytime animal park to nighttime sexy scary zone?
Yeah, so the entire team, I'll mention again, not only entertainment too, but park operations, culinary, merchandise, you name it. So every day with a Howl-O-Scream event, starting at Sesame Street Land, that area does close at about 5:30. So if you're coming to our park on a Howl-O-Scream specific event day, it does close at 5:30, and we start to that doesn't mean that the park closes itself. We are open on the most weekend days until about 7 or 8 o'clock on our other side of the park, more our SeaWorld Rescue area, our Dolphin Cove area, our Antarctica area. That side of the park does remain open up until, like I said, mentioned 7 or 8 o'clock on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. But we start on our south side of the park that, like I mentioned, and we start getting, once the guests move over onto the north side of the park, it does require us and the entertainment team bringing out different high reaches and forklifts, and the culinary team doing switchovers of different menus and different products of what we offer during the day is completely different from what we offer at night. Our merchandise team gets out different items that they might be encouraging to sell and things like that. So it does start from the south side of the park, and it requires, like I mentioned, every single department here to be able to swap over specifically for the event. If you're coming to the event and haunted attractions might not be your thing, we do cover any, we don't have any signs of blood out during the day or any per se dead bodies. So any of the bodies we have to reset out or uncover, and which is a fun thing to actually talk about. And so with that being said, we start from the south side. Our entertainment team sets out and checks lighting and checks foggers and checks audio levels and brings out some dead bodies and brings out those more weapons and those skull base that we cover up or take out of our park during the day. Like I mentioned, it's family friendly during the day, and at night we do have mature audiences or suggest mature audiences. So those are the items that we swap out before we reopen. And the whole park for the Howl-O-Scream footprint does reopen at 7 o'clock. And every night we're at least open till midnight. And some nights we're open till 1 a.m.
I think we have a clip about flipping one of the neon signs in the park from day to night. Let's run that.
Yeah, so different maybe it's signage or different like I mentioned, forklifting and different set pieces. There's some set pieces that come out of the park. We have we call them wild walls or divider walls that block off certain areas of the park so that when our nighttime guests do come into the park, they're not able to go past a certain footprint. So we're moving different walls and fences to be able to create this new footprint. And also on the flip side, to keep our daytime guests onto the opposite side. And, it honestly speaks volumes to the team that we have here as well, to be able to operate essentially two different, sometimes even, added different special park events as well. So sometimes on a Saturday night, there could be 3 different events going on essentially at the same time within our SeaWorld Orlando park. And it's super cool to think about how we've been able to push the bar and create so much space to have 2 completely different events open at the same time.
Are any of the animal shows or enclosures involved in the Howl-O-Scream event? And if not, have you ever considered doing that?
They are not. They are not. They're specifically for our daytime guests here at SeaWorld Orlando. And at night, we care about our animals first and foremost. And a lot of times they have a bedtime. So they are not incorporated in Howl-O-Scream at all.
Interesting. Cool.
That actually was a question that popped into my mind too. I was wondering about that, with lights and sound late at night, how that, how to balance that with animal care.
Very, very true. And, that is totally another level of everything that we try to create here. Specifically, it might start on the entertainment side of things or coming up with an idea. We work very closely with our zoo partners here to make sure that it's not only going to be safe and work well for the animals. Like I said, animal care is first and foremost here in the park and all of our parks in the company. And, making sure that we're making the right decisions for those animals first and blocking off certain areas or turning off certain lights and making sure the noise and things like that. All those things are, as an added element to creating a haunted event and staying open that late here in Orlando.
That's awesome. I think we have a couple more clips. Let's run more clips about the event. Of course, this one doesn't have sound. We can talk over that one.
That's awesome. Pyro makes everything better.
I love film projectors. I love it. I love the golly. You're in the South when you get a golly out of the gate.
That's pretty good.
Jeez. There was this one I saw, again, going back to that YouTube video I was watching, that I think it's a scare actor. I think it's like the first and the last person you see when you're walking in, but it's some tall, bald zombie guy, and just very convincing performance. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Fantastic. Like I mentioned, that's a whole nother level of our event here specifically. A lot of our scare actors, they're so passionate about their work, and we're so thankful that they're able to join us. And like I said, we have a lot of returning people from our ambassadors from last year that had so much fun at our event and how it was unique and how it was, some people do say it is scarier because of the scare actors and how they perform every single night. And the one you're mentioning is in our Frozen Terror, Alive in the Ice. It's one of our first few scare zones that you're coming into the park. It's right next to Icebreaker, one of our roller coasters, and it features frozen zombies coming out to capture you.
My favorite kind of zombie.
Yeah, some frozen zombies.
Meatsicle. Jeez.
Oh, that was a joke because Trevor, we used to have the frozen zombies at the Burbank pub.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
That was an inside joke for us, yeah.
It's funny when you explain it to the person that would know what the joke means.
Anyway, well, so this event sounds amazing, and you're obviously and rightfully so super proud of the whole thing. And what new element, I guess, would you say this year that you are most proud of?
It's definitely Blood Beckoning. It is the first opportunity specifically for myself that I've been able to be a part of the team to create a haunted house. And through that process, not only have I learned so much through it, but it's been so cool to be able to see it from, original idea of blue sky through the writing process, through the design process, through the build process, and then through, the staging and the actual operation. So that is specifically the most, the item that I'm the most proud of and to be a part of. And it makes your wheels turn, of like, okay, what did you learn in this design process and this challenge to create a new haunted attraction? Not only, we had a footprint that was, we had a abandoned restaurant that we were like, okay, this space is available. We're not using this restaurant currently. And how can we take this space, what we have, and create it into something totally unique? And that was super cool. And it makes your brain spin of like, okay, what's next? What can we do to push the boundaries more? What's next on the docket for next year? And to expand on this awesome event that's here.
Well, taking those lessons learned from now you've got multiple years under your belt, you're a veteran at this point of doing the design and installation of an experience like this. What advice would you have for someone who is interested in creating these types of experiences? Whether they're newer or they want to move into this area. What if they are currently figure skaters who want to do haunts?
What a weird concept, right? Trevor, you got me there. I would have never thought that I would be sitting here and honestly talking about Howl-O-Scream. So that is very weird for me, but it's super cool. Like I mentioned, I do love it. My word of advice is to always keep yourself relevant and always fresh in the industry, which is obviously exactly what you guys do through this broadcast. And expanding on, if there's something that comes into your head, for me specifically, I write it down. I used to always write it down in a notebook, and then it got just complicated trying to figure out where my notebook was or my creative notebook was. So I do use my iPhone, my good old notes, and coming up with exact certain things. It might be in the middle of the night and writing it down or writing out a concept. That is definitely something that I encourage everyone to do, because sometimes you have the best ideas in the most randomest times, right, in your life, or you might see something that sparks something else. And I encourage you to keep dreaming and keep expanding. And if someone tells you, the best word of advice, if one door closes or things like that, to push it another way and or make a door to go through. That's my positivity message, I guess, to everyone out there, is that I was very fortunate enough growing up to have amazing parents in my life that always encouraged me to be creative. I started at an early age of designing plays and doing certain things. Actually, my neighborhood, whether I brought all the neighborhood kids in to put on a full production or a fall festival, or even I believe sometimes there were haunted attractions built in my backyard. I encourage everyone through that. And if you have kids of your own, I encourage you to let their creativity run wild, and not say no to certain things, because you never know where it will lead you. And like I mentioned, I'm very thankful that I was able to have great parents that encourage me to be creative and think outside the box, and challenge me. They didn't just settle for mediocre. It was push the boundary harder and harder, and where I can go from there. So that would be my word of advice.
That's all really good advice. And I hope your parents are watching and see that you've made it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, I always tell young people, it's like perseverance really is the number one quality you need, to get to make it in the industry. It's just, you've got to keep trying, you've got to keep going, and if one door closes, another's going to open, and all that stuff. So yeah, that's really good advice.
I think one other thing I guess I would add to that is respect. I think a lot of us can probably respond well to this of, through the past few years and going through 2020, and specifically speaking of COVID, we've all been challenged in new ways and had to rethink maybe career paths or things that we thought that we were going to end up here, and the world decided to change on us a little bit. And treating people how you want to be treated and with respect is it's a big one for me too. Of you never know what someone's going through, and at the end of the day, if you can treat them with the utmost respect, and you never know when you might see them again in your life as well. And it's a great industry thing to have on your plate, to not burn bridges or anything like that.
Also, more great advice. That's awesome. Trevor, any final thoughts?
I definitely agree with that. If we're just talking about life advice in general, just be people to people, and they'll be people back to you.
Yep, for sure.
Respectfully, of course.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but no, this is all fantastic. I genuinely, I would love to come and see this experience, to come down to Howl-O-Scream when I get down there in a week, and that would be awesome to check it out because it sounds fantastic. I'm sold.
Perfect. I'll see you soon, Trevor.
Well, Kyle, thank you so much for taking the time out to chat about your incredible sounding event, and we appreciate all the work that you put into getting the clips together and working with our excellent producers CJ and Charlie and Trevor as well, who's also one of the producers of the show. And we look forward to having you on again. That was awesome.
Absolutely. Appreciate every single one.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, you guys.